Hey, everybody, welcome to the TEConnect podcast. I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Riverman.
All right, Dean, you said that with a question.
Riverman? Am I? Yes. Yeah.
Are you sure you know who you are today?
I question myself.
All right, well, as you can tell from our already loose attitude, we got another episode of TEC Bytes.
TEC Bytes.
This week, we're getting into AI-generated music videos, Gen Z education, baseball stadiums.
Yes.
The, quote, best albums, the zombie internet, summer blockbusters, and jets.
Holy moly.
Is that a good summation of what we're
if you were looking
today?
for some topics, we got them. And
right.
Go figure. Sorry, I'm still in the AI doldrums here.
I know.
I mean, some of mine, I've got and I'm just looking at them like,
AI related,
crap, I got two of them that are AI.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you got no AI.
No, I'm actively boycotting AI for the moment.
Oh, are you now? I don't know what your TEConnecting is, but
it's not AI either, actually.
All
So
right.
there you
Well,
go.
good for you. Sorry, I'm just going to drag the whole thing down with the AI.
That's fine. It's
That's
okay.
fine.
It's what we do. People come here expecting the AI.
That's right.
Dean's keeping up with the times.
The latest,
So,
yes.
all that plus what's TEConnecting with us. It's time to plug in and get connected.
Welcome to the TEConnect podcast. It's time to get connected.
All right, Dean, let's just roll into it here, man.
Yo.
You got us up first here with AI-generated music videos.
Absolutely. Now, are you an MTV generation kind of guy?
Yes, of course.
Do you remember the first video that was shown?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Buggles. Video killed the radio star.
Thank you. Video killed the radio star. So
I don't think I was watching at the time, but I'm, aware of it.
I don't think I was either. But yes,
I was a little
that's
young,
classic.
probably
But we
watching
are
MTV.
showing our age
Yes.
because I'm sure there are audience members that have no idea what we're talking
This is
about
true.
right
They're
now.
probably like, you mean the Real World channel?
But they know this. The first AI-generated music video has been created, published, put out there, all this kind of good stuff. So the record label Sub Pop told the Los Angeles Times that the music video for, quote, The Hardest Part, that's the name of the song, a single released on May 2nd by artist Washed Out, never heard of the song or the artist, is the first collaboration between a major music artist, okay, we can question that, but a filmmaker and OpenAI's Sora text-to-video generator. It also is the longest video yet, to date, created by AI. Now, the creative team behind this said that, Sora made it possible for them to create something on this sweeping scale. And I guess by that they mean a 3.5 minute long video that could be stitched together. Over the course of 6 weeks, the editors took the text to video images that were created, stitched it together, editing 55 total clips that he selected from an estimated 700 that Sora actually promoted. Now, it has received mixed reviews. Did you happen to have a chance to watch some of it?
I watched all of it.
Oh, you watched all of it?
And as always, we'll always drop our links in the show notes.
Yes.
So you can see the article which links out to the video.
Yes.
Not impressed.
Okay, so that's why I'm saying mixed reviews in the sense that some people are like, this is garbage, like, and others where I would fall on is, I don't think it's garbage. But to me, you can clearly see that it's AI-generated stuff that has the weirdness that happens in AI. Like
could be worse, could be better. That's how I
could be
felt
worse,
about it.
could be okay.
I was like,
all
I
right.
don't hate. Like, I didn't hate it enough to just turn it off and be like, this is awful.
Right.
But I was also like, all right, like I don't want to see more of these.
Well, but the creative, I feel like you have to go watch it, but the camera is constantly moving. You're constantly
It's like you're following a couple.
You're following a couple,
different
and
points
they're
throughout their
in
life.
a school. Yes, exactly.
Getting
They're
married,
outside.
they're fighting,
but
they're-
you're constantly moving, and you're going forward, and they're in front of you, and just
Sometimes they're walking through random objects.
Exactly.
The sky seems upside down.
or a car that turns into the road, and suddenly they're sitting in. It does a lot of weird stuff. It's the kind of thing that once you start like trying to analyze the imagery that's going on, you rewind it a couple of times, and then you see, oh, there's a lot of weird AI hallucinations that are going on in this.
I feel like the art of the music video has kind of died, unfortunately, which I think is unfortunate because at one point, music videos were fun and amazing to watch.
Yes.
It's also where a lot of like amazing film directors got their start.
Okay,
if you're
so
a fan of like David Fincher or some of these other big name directors, Guy Ritchie, a lot of them got their start directing music videos.
Yes.
And that was how they were proving grounds to become big directors. And I feel like we don't do that much. I mean, they still make music videos.
Yes.
But they're not, obviously there's not an apparatus to really display them on where people are seeing them en masse without going looking for them.
That's right.
I mean, you might see them like, in TikTok and YouTube now, obviously.
Sure.
Just like everything else, there's so much saturated different places where people can consume content that there's no one place they're getting them anymore.
That's right.
So I guess I understand why, like, all right, this is cheaper and easier and simpler potentially to make. And I will say, watching this video, I thought about this and I thought, had a David Fincher made this same exact video,
but
doing it practically and not with
prompt
AI,
engineering it differently,
we probably would say it was drilliant, even if it didn't even use AI at all.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the AI of it makes it feel generic in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree with you, and I am worried. There's pros and cons, right? I worry about the art and not giving a platform for young directors, young producers, whatever. I mean, not producers, but directors for sure, camera guys, all that kind of good stuff, and gals. Not the ability to be involved, because this can be a stepping stone for them. But the pro is, and I'll read the quote directly. A lot of music videos just don't have the budgets to really dream big. I think AI can help the music industry in terms of creating things that even Ernest, which is they're citing somebody else in the article, could not even dream about making before. You can just come up conceptually with things that maybe make sense for the song that you could never shoot on camera in a reasonable budget.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Type of a thing. So that's interesting.
And I was going to say, I think that to me is the flip side there too, is I think, it is, as always, incredibly difficult for like a new or upcoming artist to get noticed and recognized.
Right.
Radio is not really a thing anymore. Getting your single to be on a streaming platform featured in any way is insanely difficult if you're not tied to a major label that's promoting it.
Yep.
So a lot of younger artists and a lot of up-and-coming artists that are trying to get known are using platforms like TikTok and Instagram to get noticed and they do it by creating a fun music video.
Well, I'm just waiting for the first artist to be a musician and a visual artist at the same time. Like,
that might
I wrote
be
the
something
song,
they
but
have
now
to
I'm going
start
to use AI and engineer my prompting so that I'm AI is creating things that I. Yeah, right.
And if the video, I suppose, is interesting enough that it gets people's eyes on it, so then they hear your music and become invested in your music, well, then the work is done. Again, this is one of those things I'm like, I know we're going to start seeing more of this.
Yes.
And some of it's going to be awful and frustrating, but some of it might actually be.
So here's my last question for you, and a challenge, because you didn't do probably what I did. So I went back and watched the original Video Killed the Radio Star video.
Right.
It's really bad. It's as bad as you think it might have been. Everything's shot on one stage.
It was like late 70s or something,
white
wasn't it? Yeah.
82. White background. I mean, it was the quintessential 80s.
Right.
Everything was on one stage. And they do a little, subtle dissolves and stuff.
Right.
But honestly, the video that was created by AI as the first video, I think is a little bit more engaging than the original.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Shot in the camera.
It'll get better. Like all AI, it'll get better. Yeah.
Video Killed the Radio Star. It's really bad. I mean, but it's interesting because they have a lot of similar concepts are in there. There's fireworks. There was fireworks in the other one. It's just fascinating to see the contrast side by
we'll
side.
See where this goes. Yeah.
Well, there you go. The first one's out of the gate. So, what's your tech? What's your tech bite?
All right, so let's talk about one of the younger generations, Gen Z, who are at this point a lot of them are getting into the late high school, college age, starting to get out of school. Well, apparently, more Gen Zers than ever are choosing trades over college, traditional college. So they're going to trade schools and vocational schools. Yep. And in this particular article from The Guardian, it points out that shows they're smart, which I would have to actually agree here. So basically, the bottom line here is that students that are enrolled in vocational schools vocation-focused community colleges is up 16% from where it was. Oh, I don't remember what the previous date was, since 2018. I think. Yeah. So there's quite a dramatic increase, and it says the ranks of students studying construction trades rose 23% during that time. HVAC, vehicle maintenance and repair, increased 7%. And basically, the way the article's framing it is like, hey, in the past, we, kind of, looked askew at, if someone's going into vocational schools and community colleges and trying to get a quick 2-year degree as like, oh, that's, that's, to be frowned upon versus going to a higher ed, 4-year college and getting, some degree in, I don't know,
history
or English, says the guy that was studying English. And basically what we're saying is the stigmata of that has gone away. There's no longer a stigma, not stigmata. The stigma has gone away. And now you've got all these jobs where people need workers. There's low barrier of entry to get into these, and frankly, they're good paying jobs.
They're really good paying jobs.
If you're a homeowner and you've ever had to either have your house built or you've had to have someone come out and fix your HVAC,
absolutely.
Or, people work on your car. You might be like a little sticker shock to some of the pricing, but that's because it's
a skill.
It's a skill. It's
to be able to walk in and get the work done.
Exactly. So basically, they're saying, hey, it's taking the pressure off of getting the perfect education and getting a 4-year degree that, frankly, may not get you as nearly as resourceful and good of a job out of the gate that's making as much money as one of these trades potentially could. So I'm all for this.
I'm all for it too.
My wife and I have talked about this, like, when our son gets of the right age, like, hey, we're not going to pressure him and say like he has to go to a 4-year school and study to be a doctor or anything. If you want to do it and you're good at it, great. But if you want to, get a gig in auto repair and make good money and it's something you like doing, by all means, go to a trade school and do it,
Be a welder, dude.
Yeah.
Make great money.
Yeah. And it's a heck of a lot cheaper and for parents too that are trying to foot the bill for this, or for students that have to take out loans, it's not as massive of a loan. If a lot of times you can get paid back on a lot of that stuff too, if you
absolutely,
if you promise yourself to a certain industry or something, and they'll pay for that schooling or pay part of it or pay you back in some way. So so Gen Z is making some smart moves there. I mean, they obviously saw what the millennials did and how much freaking college debt the millennials have been in, and like, no, that's not for me.
It doesn't work. Yeah,
I'm gonna go learn how to fix an HVAC and be off by 3 o'clock and make a ton of money.
Yeah, that the trade schools now don't get astronomical in prices.
This is true. Yes.
I mean, I would hate to see that happen. There's many reasons why college has gotten literally out of control at this point in time. But I just hope that trades don't, because this is good news.
I know.
You kind of felt like the pendulum was going to swing back a little bit, and it's that social stigma that you were talking about. I think it's just not there. No. I mean, there's no reason for
not when people are paying $100,000 plus for a 4-year education. I mean, and then you tell someone like, oh no, you can pay $25,000 and get a great job in 2 years and make that back and then some. Like, no, it's just not gonna not the same anymore.
I know. So. I like it. I like it a lot. Yep.
So there you go. So if you're concerned or or thinking you had to get your kids the perfect 4-year education, do not be worried about that. All right, Dean. Let's talk about some ballparks.
So we both
take
have
us out to the ball game.
A little bit of a love for ballparks, and I stumbled across this article and I was like, oh, this is a good one for John, because
you are correct.
It speaks about baseball. So USA Today came out with a little article where they ranked, or they submitted ranking the Major League Baseball's 8 most beautiful stadiums. So I'm just going to rattle them off here from the bottom up. So number 8 was Fenway Park. That's where the Red Sox play. Number 7, Target Field up in Minnesota. Number 6, Oriole Park at the Camden Yards, Baltimore, of course. Number 5, Coors Field in where the Colorado Rockies play. Wrigley is number 4. PNC Park, where the Pirates play, is number 3. 2 is Oracle Park, San Francisco. And then number 1, Petco Park in San Diego. Now, my first question to you, my friend, how many of these have you been to?
Only 2 of those 8. I've been to Wrigley.
Oh, I beat you.
And I've been to Coors Field.
You've been to Wrigley and you've been to Coors. I have been to Wrigley.
I think I've went to Oriole Park. I went on a field trip, summer trip thing or whatever for school back in the 10th grade, between 10th and 11th grade, I think. Yeah. And we went to D.C., and I feel like we went to an Orioles game, but I don't remember for sure.
Okay.
It would have been, the park would have been open by, because I think it opened in, 92?
Yes.
So it would have been open already, but I just do not remember it if I did.
Gotcha. Okay, so and I've got a qualifying question for you. So I've been to Fenway, but not for a baseball game. Does that still count?
Yeah, sure.
I went there for a football game.
Okay, a football game.
Yeah, the UC Bearcats played
right.
a one of their bowl games.
Gotcha.
At Fenway.
Okay,
and that's
well,
the only reason I went up there.
Got to experience the park.
Got to experience the park. It was in the dead of winter. Not typically when you would go there.
Do you agree on the parks that are on this list being beautiful that you've been to?
Yeah, okay, so let's get there in a second. I've been to Coors Field, been to Wrigley, and then I've been to PNC Park. Okay. So I've been to 4 of them.
Okay.
I can't.
I do want to go to PNC. That's on my bucket list.
I can't comment on the ones that they have because I've never been there.
Right.
But it is an interesting question around what do you think makes a great ballpark?
A beautiful ballpark.
A beautiful ballpark.
Particular.
What I noticed here is that a lot of them have cityscapes that you can see. So they're in the downtown area. Petco apparently has a beautiful
And PNC,
that's what PNC is
yeah.
known for. Is like you're sitting behind home plate, you get a great view of Pittsburgh.
Right.
A smaller town, but still a great view. Wrigley, you're in the thick of it. Coors Field, you really can't out the outfield. You can't see the cityscape, but you're downtown,
right?
Kind of a thing. Anyway, what do you think makes a great ballpark?
So I struggle with this because, and this is gonna be you're gonna be like, all right, this is your Cubs bias coming out.
Oh, go for it.
I saw Wrigley, and I'm like, Wrigley, really? I mean, because it's obviously one of the oldest parks in the country. Only Fenway's older.
It's number 4 by.
And most people, if you go to Wrigley. And then granted, I guess if we're talking about just out on the playing field is one thing, but like you go anywhere else inside of Wrigley, there's no one thinking that place is beautiful. It is very much the 100-plus-year-old park.
You're making Cub fans very upset right now.
I know. I'm not.
It's all about the nostalgia when you walk in there. I mean, you have to walk in with the proper mindset.
And I do understand that.
When was that thing built? Like 1900 or something?
Yeah, I understand that it is an iconic park, and I do appreciate the times I've been there. I'm like, I appreciate this old park. Yeah. I don't know that I ever looked at it as like, man, this place is gorgeous.
I gotcha.
Granted, also and plus I've been there back before they even had the digital screens when they were still hand putting up the numbers by hand.
I gotcha. To
show you the score and the pitch count and stuff like that or whatever.
Yeah.
Now I will say Coors I did think was a stunning.
Yes.
I think it's just a beautiful ballpark overall. It's a wonderful park in a really cool location. Mm-hmm. And again, sometimes this can be the context of like where you're sitting and when you're at the game. Like, but when I was there was this gorgeous like orange sun. I've actually got a photo of it. Probably one of the best pictures I've ever taken in my life of just like the orange sun rays coming like over the top of the park as the sun's setting. It just looks absolutely amazing.
Stunning. Yeah.
So I do think that's a beautiful place. I've always heard that Petco is amazing. Like I said, PNC, if you just watch a game on television at PNC, you can tell how amazing that looks.
Yeah.
But I guess this is kind of a subjective thing.
It is.
And I looked at the full list. They had a link out to the full list. Ranking all the parks, which for some reason was in a different order, like sort of the same, but I think like PNC was at the top for some reason. Well, now Great American Ballpark was number 26.
Oh, come on. It's not that bad.
List, which I'm like, I get that it's kind of
it's better than Busch.
Old school type park. Yeah, but we got a great view of the river out there. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but it's not, I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
I'm pretty sure Oakland was at the bottom, which I've been to the Oakland Coliseum. And I actually went there again back when I was in high school. And I don't think that place has changed a bit since.
Yeah,
well, it is every bit as just it's like the old Riverfront Stadium was here in Cincinnati. Like it's like just the big giant bowl, just a big
cement
round,
bowl.
Big round bowl with a ball field in the middle. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So. Not the best. I don't know. It's hard to judge. Well, what do you think makes a great ballpark? Is it the views? Is it the nostalgia? Is it the food? Is it the creature comforts that you get? I guess it's kind of all that. To a certain degree. There was some weight put on the outside of them, and I get it, but I don't know that I noticed the outside as much. Now I need to be a little bit more critical,
I guess it depends on where, because that can be cool sometimes as you're driving into a stadium and see it from afar. And, if you can see it from afar and what does it look like on the horizon or something. Sometimes you go to some of them, we went to the Nationals Park, it was just called Nationals Park when we were in D.C. a few months ago. And that one is just kind of kind of just sits on the edge of the water, like in just like sort of the middle of town, like sorts. Like you just
there's no
you just kind of like go down the street and like, oh, there it is. There's a
that's like Wrigley.
There happens to be a
Wrigley's in the middle of
here.
just in the middle of a neighborhood. Boom,
like it's not something that you can be in like random places.
But it's like Coors
see.
Field, if you remember. Now that I remember back, I mean the entrance to it. There's a lot of
pomp
and circumstance, I guess, around the getting into it, and
a lot of cool picturesque views as you're on your way in.
Yes, statues and
stuff
whatnot.
like that.
But anyway, all right. So I didn't disagree with it, but
just not. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good,
and again, it's very subjective. Hey, I will point out though that if you are in the Denver area or Colorado, Kansas, something like that, or whatever, you're up for a little drive. We're going to be taking the 2U tour.
Hey, there you go.
To Coors Field on July 23rd.
Yes, sir.
So if you are somewhere in that area or can be on that date, sign up. Go to BlueStar. Go to the BlueStar homepage and find the events section in our 2U tour page. I'll drop a link in the show notes also.
I like it.
Register to go if you're a VAR, register to go check out the 2U tour there at Coors Field.
I like it.
You can see one of these beautiful ballparks. little plug for us there.
Yes.
I saw you put this on here. I was like, well, I got to give a plug for that coming up. That's the marketer in me coming out. All right, Dean. Let's talk about the greatest albums of all time.
Greatest albums of all time. Oh boy.
Because like every few minutes or so, someone puts out a list of the greatest of something.
Yes.
And I've seen.
So who has put this?
I've
one
seen
out?
the Rolling Stone best lists of all time. I've seen Pitchforks. I've seen. Every music publication on the planet practically, or just some random schmo on a blog, I've done my own list of greatest albums of all time.
Yeah, but I would trust you because your curated mixtapes
even
are pretty good.
But even then, I go and I look at this particular list. This is Apple Music, by the way. Apple Music released their top 100 albums, which apparently was a collaboration of various artists and experts or whatever collaborating on the top albums of all time. And there's even there's a bunch of this stuff that I've never really even heard or listened to or know that terribly well.
Right.
But I'll run through the top 10 here. So we've got at number 10, Beyonce's Lemonade. Number 9, Nirvana, Nevermind.
Yeah.
Number 8, Amy Winehouse, Back in Black.
Yeah.
7, Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. 6, Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. 5, Frank Ocean, Blonde. 4, Prince and the Revolution, Purple Rain. 3, The Beatles, Abbey Road. 2, Michael Jackson's Thriller. And number 1, Lauryn Hill, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. So, first of all, I look at the top 10. I'm like, hey, you know what? There are some standouts here that typically show up on a lot of best of lists of all time.
Yeah.
There's also some stuff that I'm not overly familiar with. And I've never seen on a list like this before, but I'm still like, all right, maybe this is good stuff. It did inspire me to check out some of these, and some were stuff that I was interested in that I hadn't really paid attention before. My personal all-time favorite album, which is Oasis' second album, What's the Story, Morning Glory, came in at 58.
Yes.
I was happy to see at least in the top 100.
That's true.
And let's be honest. Again, you can find any top list you want to satisfy your particular opinions.
Yep.
Just like the beautiful ballparks, it's very subjective.
Yep.
But again, I think there were some pretty solid options among this. So what do you think when you kind of skim through it?
Terrible list. Can you name one song off the top album?
I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but I know one of them at least.
I don't know the album. I don't know any songs.
I've listened to
it.
I think Lauryn Hill is a very gifted artist. Not my style of music, and it is.
How can it be the number one album of all time?
I listened to this album, and it's I think it's fine. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, I don't know,
but I can see how someone else might think it is the best album ever.
I mean, I've never heard of Frank Ocean, Blonde. Never heard that album. So anyway, in the top 10. And then I'm biased again. So my favorite artist is not in here at all. And yet...
Which one's yours?
Rush.
Okay.
How can you not have a moving pictures or something like that? That is one of the most influential albums, period. You can ask anybody in rock, any musician... I know I'm maybe showing my age, but even today, like some of these artists that are in the top 10, like Nirvana, all of Nirvana thinks that Rush was the best band ever. So it's like, what are we doing here? I just don't anyway. But yet Metallica shows up.
Yes.
Not to give any heat to Metallica, but I don't. For me, I would think that Rush would be way more influential So I'm biased in that. Other than that, and how Clash makes 35, I don't know. I love the Clash. Don't get me wrong. I love me some Clash. But there were some that I'm glad to see the Beatles were up there. I mean, how can you not have Beatles?
What I always find funny about the Beatles is I always feel like there's always this debate about it. If you're going like a ranking with Beatles albums in it, is it going to be Rubber Soul, Revolver, or
Abbey Road?
Sometimes Sgt. Pepper's, you'll see that.
Right.
Usually one of those gets clocked somewhere in the top 10 of every list.
Yeah. I mean, I think they got some things right. Purple Rain up there, absolutely. Yeah. What a great album.
I found the Amy Winehouse one to be interesting.
Very curious.
Granted, I haven't listened. I like Amy Winehouse. I don't think I've ever really listened to that entire album.
Me never. A couple songs off it,
right?
A couple good songs,
exactly.
For sure.
But again, like I said, this is all subjective. I mean,
it is.
Depending on who you ask and when you ask them. I mean,
it's interesting.
If you ask me to rank my albums, I mean, like I said, I'm probably sticking that Oasis album at number 1, but I'm not going to pretend like that is the greatest album of all time. It's just me personally.
Yeah,
it's my favorite.
Yes, right. Like everybody's got their own biases.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. And so I don't know. Did they even explain how they came up with this?
Not that I could find.
Was this based on streams or was it like analytical?
No, they just said assembled with the help of artists and experts. It's a modern love letter to the records that have shaped the world we live and listen in today. I think when they originally came out, they might have had a little more explanation around, how it came to be. I stuck this on my list of let's talk about this in the TEC Bytes, and I don't remember all the details behind it, and I couldn't find it on this particular site where they rank the albums. But it's also, I will say, it's a nice looking list. If you're an Apple Music subscriber, you can go here and click into any of the albums.
It's worth
and
scrolling through.
To them.
It's worth scrolling to. Yes. I don't know how Lord makes it. To me, that's more of a one-hit wonder type of band. 96, by the way. Oh, wait.
I'll fight you on that one. Lord had 2 amazing albums.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. And what about the concept of an album, though? Is that... I think that
does have a lot to do with it too, because
like my 12-year-old, I don't know that she feels the same way about an album. I don't know that artists are dropping quote unquote albums like they used to.
It is a lost art. There's not many artists that actually build an entire album filled with good songs and not just a collection of singles around it. Yes. And some random stuff shoved in between.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think, honestly, if you do look at that list, it does kind of lend itself to that though, because even the stuff that I'm not overly familiar with and the stuff that's a little more modern, let's say in the last decade or so, since the album, I think kind of, did take a bit of a nosedive.
Yeah.
I would say the stuff that is in here that's more recent do tend to be the ones that are more of a legit album with an actual cohesive narrative to it and not just a collection
or where the
of
artist spent
singles.
time, putting together songs and it like I think whatever. Harry Styles, I think, has done a fantastic job of really paying attention to the album and creating, a song list that is a journey. Through that whole,
where you can appreciate singles, but if you listen to it as a whole sitting, it still
makes sense.
It resonates in a different way.
And when he plays it live, he plays it in order because that's the way that he wanted it done, kind of a thing. So anyway, I wonder if it's getting to be a lost art. It doesn't matter. AI is going to take over anyway because my next one, AI is zombifying the internet. Were you aware of this?
I wasn't, but it's one of those things. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, that
makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad.
Honestly, you could have said that probably before AI even got involved.
Well, I'm glad this guy coined the phrase. It's Jason Kobler, I guess, who writes for the tech news website 404 Media, believes the trend representing what he calls the zombie internet. And so what is the zombie internet? Well, it's spam, it's junk, it's slop in essence.
Slop was the good term. I like
yes, I like that
It's
term.
like the new spam is slop.
That's it. The latest wave behind AI is kind of zombifying the internet. Whereas tech experts hope this new term of zombie internet, which is basically careless automation of AI-generated web pages and images, can illuminate the dangerous impact that this is having. What is the dangerous impact? Well, like any spam, the overall is having a negative impact. Quoting the article, the lost time and effort of users who now have to wade through the slop to find content that they're actually seeking far outweighs the profit to stop to stop the slop creator.
Stop
so
the slop.
yeah, I mean and I get it. And then they threw in some examples in this article.
Shrimp Jesus was my favorite.
Yes, I was trying to get I hadn't seen that AI generated image, but apparently this got like millions of reposts and likes, and so here are some of your examples. Now the first one's kind of serious. AI generated books have become a problem. There's a prominent example that came when an amateur mushroom pickers were recently warned to avoid a foraging book sold on Amazon that appears to have been written by chatbots and AI, containing dangerous advice for anyone hoping to discern between lethal fungus and ones that'll kill you, inedible ones. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of a problem. If we got AI generating books that are now sold on Amazon as legit. Image generation slop has also blossomed on Facebook as images of your favorite, Jesus Christ with prawns for limbs, children in plastic bottle cars.
If you haven't seen Shrimp Jesus, just go to this link. You got to check it out. It will blow your mind. Like, who thought of this and why?
Fake dream homes and improbably old women claiming to have baked their 122nd birthday cake, garnering thousands of shares. So anyway, apparently we got AI. It's gumming up the works. It's throwing a lot of slop into the internet, and that is really having a negative impact on it. Who knew? Right?
I liked what I thought was interesting in the article was they were talking about like that they were trying to coin this term slop to try to create a connotation similar to spam, which we all understand what spam is supposed to be, and that it's a negative thing.
Yes.
So they're trying to be like, hey, let's make slop a thing so that people can also ascribe something to this kind of awful stuff,
internet slop,
that we don't want there. The same way that no one wants spam, so we've taken efforts to eliminate spam, to filter out spam, to keep it out of our lives, to even there's legislation around spam now even. Yeah, let's do the same thing with slop before the AI generated stuff gets out of hand too. The other thing I will say about that though is at least like some of the AI generated slop is unlike spam where it's just some stupid, poorly worded, obnoxious email like shows up in your inbox. At least slop can be sort of entertaining.
Yes, right. Like, I mean, who doesn't like a prawn-armed Jesus Christ?
I mean, at least, I say, at least you might be seeing something you're like, I don't know what this is or why, but it's kind of amusing.
It made me laugh. Yeah. Right, exactly.
I'll give that at least a leg up over the spam, but I do get the point there. And it made me just feel like a bigger, broader point about this. Like, are we going to at some point make the internet so untenable that we just stop doing the internet?
I think we're getting close.
And
social media, by the way, they did add in social because, and that's why Facebook's looking. It's very concerned about it because if you have more of this slop in there, well, then the platform becomes less relevant.
And people will turn away from it and leave it. Yeah.
That's a nightmare for Facebook at all that have advertising based, business models. I mean, this is a nightmare. So we all have to do our part and start calling it slop.
We do. That's right.
And
I think, sometimes I feel people don't realize like how nascent and how like new the internet actually is.
Right.
Like this isn't, it's not like the internet has been around for 100 years. We're talking 30 years at most. In its sort of current form. I mean, really only maybe 20 years.
Yeah, I'd say about 20
in the style of internet that we currently see it existing as. Yeah. And I mean, that's a very short time in the span of human history and all the various things we've done to communicate and connect with one another.
Yeah,
I just it makes you wonder, like, are we going to make the internet as it currently exists so untenable and just unappealing that we end up just like scrapping it entirely and coming up with something different and new? Like, are we maybe a couple generations away from just being like, nope, let's pull the plug on the internet and start over and do something else?
Well, yeah, I thought
is slop and spam going to be the reason why we do it?
I thought Web 3 was supposed to solve all that. Where's Web 3?
What happened with that?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, all right. So we got movies.
Yes, let's get to another ranking because I cannot resist a great list. If you haven't been able to figure that out by now.
Oh, we got another list.
So I got another list here. This is a list from a website called Inside Hook, which I'm going to be honest, I'd never heard of before.
All right, sir.
They did a list of ranking every summer blockbuster, since we are in summer blockbuster season now.
Which used to be such a big thing, but go ahead.
Yes, since 1975, that's when Jaws came out, which is considered as the first blockbuster. Right. So basically a big summer film that draws a lot of money, draws a lot of attention and audience, and is just brings in a lot of folks to the movie theater.
Got it.
So
we got about 50 years of history here.
And they do acknowledge like the summer blockbuster isn't what it used to be because for one, there's not just blockbusters in summer anymore. Like they noted on this list, like the Avengers, Endgame, and Infinity War kind of broke the model because they both released those in April. But they still identify, even though this list was supposed to be like May through August, they specifically allowed those in because they were clearly meant to be a summer blockbuster.
Yep. Okay.
They were just released a little earlier.
Got it.
So anyway, this is just going to be, again, a subjective ranking of which of these films are actually the best. And they took each year, like what was the blockbuster of that year, which mostly is about, what was the biggest moneymaker of that year, or over time at least.
Yeah.
And also like had the biggest like cultural impact of that particular year too.
Okay. All
so
right.
it's this subjective list, of course. Again, I'm going to rattle off top 10 here.
Okay.
Number 10, The Dark Knight from 2008, one of my all-time favorite films. Number 9, Star Wars, the original from 1977.
Yes.
8, Return of the Jedi from 83. A.T. at 7 from 82. From 1985, Back to the Future at number 6. Number 5, Batman Returns from 92. Number 4, The Empire Strikes Back from 1980. Number 3, Jaws from 75. Number 2, Who Framed Roger Rabbit from 88.
All right.
And at number 1, Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981. So first of all,
wow,
the 80s apparently were a good time for blockbusters.
Yeah. A little bit.
The 80s and early 90s.
Look at all
best,
those 80s, yes.
Which makes sense because that was the heyday of the blockbuster. That was when almost every year there was one or two movies that just dominated the cultural narrative and were the things that everybody saw.
Yeah.
A couple things I want to point out here. Yeah. So, first of all, for some reason, this is one of those lists where you can tell like the writers of it are a little bit pretentious about movies.
Oh, I
and
see.
about what makes a good movie.
I see.
Versus a, like something that you can just enjoy, even though it may not necessarily be culturally or artistically good. They totally trash the Shrek movies. So Shrek 1 and 2 are both near the bottom. And if you read their little
Shrek
blurbs,
2 is the last one, by the way.
Yes, if you read their little blurbs, like they are just like ripping this. And there's, and granted, I've heard a lot of people rip the Shrek movies. I still think they're kind of fun to watch, frankly.
Yes, they are. They're comical.
I'm not saying they're great, amazing artistic achievement movies, but they're fun. Anyway, so there's a little bit of pretentiousness to this list.
All right,
do check
fair
it out.
enough.
That said, the top 10, pretty solid.
I would agree.
Some of my all-time favorite films are in the top 10. Raiders of the Lost Ark is a great choice, I think, for number 1.
Yep.
Jaws, to me, could have just as easily been there. I think Jaws is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yep.
The only ones that really stood out to me in the top 10 that I was kind of like scratching my head about, one, Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yes.
Because I do feel like, even though I do know it's a technical achievement, it is not a movie I've watched in a long time, for one thing. And I feel like I need to go back to it.
Yes.
I'm surprised that it is that well regarded for this list.
Yeah.
And the other maybe being Batman Returns, although I do hear a lot of people reference that as being one of the superior Batman films from that time period, even better than the original. Fair. I never thought it was any, to be honest, I didn't think the Tim Burton Batman movies were all that anyway. They were great at the time.
I forgot Tim Burton did them.
Yeah.
Did a couple.
But so that one was the other one that stood out to me. The rest of them I felt in the top 10 are like, you can't go, E.T., any of the original Star Wars trilogy, The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight was probably, I feel like that was the last time I went to a movie theater and just felt like I was experiencing something.
Yes.
Like I remember going with some friends and like feeling the need to actually like shout out loud a couple times and cheer at stuff. That was, I think, the last time. That's 2008. It's been a while back.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe some of the Avengers films kind of got me there a little bit too. But for the most part, like I think it's been a while since you've had that feeling. E.T., I just watched that again with my son last week, and like that is a movie that still moves me more than ever. So there's some really, really good stuff in the top 10, I think, and the list overall is fascinating. But what did you think of it?
No doubt about it.
What stood out to you?
You know what's hard though? I agree with you. I thought the top 10 was solid. Everything that you just said, I agree with. It is difficult though when you start scrolling from like 11 to 20 because there's some really good movies in there too. It's like, oh man, I don't know. Like maybe
you got Toy Story 3,
Terminator,
Ghostbusters, Terminator 2.
I mean, Jurassic Park, you didn't message, which was
Saving Private Ryan.
I mean, what little kid wasn't running around with a dinosaur? You know,
I wish I had been younger when Jurassic Park. First of all, I did not see Jurassic Park in the theater, which I'm bummed that I did not do that.
That would have been a good.
That was dumb on my part, but I also wish I had been younger because I guess I was 16, 17 when that came out.
Yeah.
And I like there's an 8-year-old John that if he'd been able to see Jurassic Park would have just thought that was the greatest thing that ever existed. I would have been begging my parents to take me to the theater like every other day to watch that movie over and over again. So
now one of the movies that I'm torn about, because again, to your commentary, the blockbuster in air quotes has kind of changed a little bit.
Yes.
And I don't think so. Top Gun Maverick is number 30 on this list, but when you talk to people my kids' age, and so I'm talking, late millennials, I guess, my son, whatever, 24, 25, I guess they're all Gen Zs, but this was a big movie.
Yeah.
And it was surprising to me how big of a movie Top Gun Maverick was. It's like, and they went back and watched the original Top Gun, and this was all the rage for the year. When did it come out? 2022?
Yeah.
I know we were in COVID, but that movie was all the rage.
Yeah.
It was, and so
I think that was part of it, because we were just getting to the point where like theaters were reopening in mass.
Yeah.
We were on that backside of COVID. Most people were getting vaccinated, were comfortable going back out again.
Agreed. Yeah.
And you had a big tentpole movie that was not a superhero film.
Yes. Okay,
Even though
that's
it was
fair.
a sequel, it was
That's
not
fair.
It was not a superhero movie. It was not a big animated film.
Yep.
And I think that was kind of like the perfect mix. I'm going to be honest, I still have not seen Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, you haven't?
I have not. I do want to
personally,
watch it.
I don't think you're missing anything.
I mean, I never thought the original was all that.
Exactly.
I was like, okay, this is fine.
You like it, Marco? Or I'm with you.
He agrees.
I don't. That's why I'm bringing it up. I mean, the allure though of the younger generation, it was like, that's what they. I was just shocked when my kids were like, "Oh no, it's a great movie."
But at the same time,
I'm, like, really?
I'm all for this though, because I do feel like the blockbuster is missing somewhat. Like I think it has become, because it's been so superhero centric over the last decade or so. And again, even for as much as I love the superhero movies and I go see them, even I'm starting to get a little burned out on them. And I'm ready for other. And I think like last year you had the Barbie and Oppenheimer thing. Barbenheimer, if you remember, was the big deal last year.
Which Barbie made 15, by the way.
And I was glad to see that. Like I'm glad to see that there still can be that happening again. There can still be like big movie events, and I think especially with those two was really cool because, granted, Barbie is an existing IP property, but it was not a film franchise before.
Yeah, right.
It's not like it was like the 30th Barbie film or anything.
Yeah.
Like it was something brand new for a cinema kind of thing. And Oppenheimer, just a big Oscar drama kind of thing, and yet turned out to be two of the biggest movies of the entire year. I'm glad that's happening because I feel like we're rapidly heading towards the potential end of theaters as we know it, at least. Theaters turning potentially into like more of an experience-based thing and not a, I don't know. I used to be someone who for a long time, back in my early 20s, pre-girlfriends, and pre-marriage and kids and all that stuff or whatever, where I would go and almost every weekend I was at the theater watching one or two movies. And granted, you'd see some pretty awful stuff, but for the most part, there was a lot of good, fun movies to watch too. And I feel like anymore that's just not the case. It's just a lot of schlock. There's some stuff that should be in a theater that's just bypassing it entirely and going straight to streaming now. And I don't know. So it'll be interesting because you can tell when you look at this list, not much of the top movies are from the last decade or so.
No.
I'd say again, we went through that top 10 and I think the newest one on there was maybe Batman Returns.
Well, I mean, Dark Knight. It was
Dark Knight. Okay, that's right. That's the only one from 16 even from this
years
century
old.
That's been on there. Yeah, and that's a pretty old movie at this point.
But you'd have to go all the way to Barbie then in 2023.
Yep.
I mean, to your point, it's
They're just there. I mean, I know I don't want to sound old fashioned here, but they just don't quite make them like they used to.
They don't make them. They just don't make them like they used to. You know what I also fear is maybe not like it used to be. That'd be war. So the next war that's coming down.
Nice segue
nice
there,
segue.
Dean. Man, that was professional level podcasting right there, buddy.
The next war, I fear more and more what the next, I'm calling it big war, might look like.
I mean,
so the headline here is AI controlled jets, and of course, and this is a quick topic, but I had to throw it on the table because. Anyway, so what this is all about, what has happened is, well, apparently just a little while ago, an F-16 fighter. It was completely controlled by artificial intelligence. Was actually flown. Not a big surprise there, but the Air Force Secretary General Frank Kendall was in the seat and was actually, quote unquote, piloting, although he wasn't touching anything, and a part of a what do they call it when they just a demonstration of the dogfighting capabilities of an F-16 affixed with artificial intelligence. It's probably as nasty as you think it is. Not bad, like nasty in the sense that it can do it. It's whatever. As bad as you think it's going to be, it probably was. But the other part of the headline is it was so successful that even though the technology is not fully developed, the service is planning, meaning the Air Force is planning for AI-enabled fleet of more than 1,000 unmanned warplanes, the first of them operating in 2028. So here's where I'm at. So, which, by the way, is just 4 years from now. They're going to start, these will be a part of our... Which I guess, okay, great. But where I'm at is because now you're starting to see videos like if you saw, all nations are going to start doing this. China's got their whole fleet of drones. They've got drones that can shoot machine guns from up in the air. So I guess where I'm at is the next war that happens, we need to tunnel and get under the earth. Let the machines duke it out, and whatever machine wins, I guess that's who we all go with.
It's like I guess it's not going to be Skynet destroying the humans. It's just going to be multiple Skynets destroying each other.
Yes,
I guess.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the humans just get out of the way, let all our AIs and robots, blow each other up.
If you're not a fan of sending soldiers to war, maybe that could be a good thing. But what does that mean, though?
Well, it's kind of like back in the olden days, and I'm talking like the 1700s, or whatever, when there were actually spectators at wars, like the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, where they're sitting up on the hillside watching people. Maybe that's what it is.
Is it going to be just a reality show that we're just watching on TV now? Like, is this like the Hunger Games for war or something?
It's becoming more and more reality.
Oh, look, that country just got nuked. Oh man.
Well, it's either that or I need some superpowers to deal with this. I need to become Jedi. I need to get my lightsaber. I mean, how else am I going to protect myself? Anyway, and this is just what they're telling us.
I know.
Meaning, this is old.
Yeah, we know what the
dude.
military-industrial complex is like. Yeah,
really, really.
They came up with
news.
this 10, 15 years ago already.
Exactly.
I will say, an
an F-16 for crying out loud is already a 40-year-old plane.
Quote antiquated to them. Yeah. I did find it interesting. I'm like, the Air Force Secretary did the first piloting of this. And I'm like, or quote again, piloting. Yeah. I'm like, either he was very confident, or he got talked into this as good PR, and the whole time was up there like, oh my god.
I guarantee he was very confident about it.
I hope so. Yeah. But you're right, man. This is one of those things you just look at and you go like, what? I mean, even the article even said, what that means for war, and I think it's a great question, but also again raises the stakes of, well, when you got something that's being controlled by a machine, what happens when someone learns how to tap into that machine?
Yeah, absolutely.
What happens when we're sending our fleet of AI controlled planes and someone presses a button and says, your AI controlled planes now belong to me, and I've infected them with a virus that says America, death to the Americas, or
clearly
death to your country.
Where we'll probably go is it becomes like a nuclear standoff, right? Like you've got your AIs and robots, we got ours. Probably. But who's going to lose at that? All the nations that don't have that capability, right? I mean, it's a fascinating time that we live in. I'll just put it that way, brother. There's just one more aspect of it. Not to bring us down at the end, but hey,
way to go.
Look for your F-16
That's
pilot.
Actually, my bad. I'm the one who puts these articles in a certain order. Yeah, but I guess we're just heading towards one big game of like Risk or Stratego or something. We're just moving our AI equipment around. All right. Well, hey.
So if they want to make a better, if the audience wants to do better than that topic, how do they do that again?
As always, you can send your ideas into us. Man, seriously, you're on it with the segues today.
Mr. Segue.
I appreciate this. Yeah. So send in your ideas to the podcast. If you want to hear about other stuff besides AI-controlled planes and my various top 10 pop culture lists, I mean, seriously, I could do that every episode if you want me to. There's not a dearth of lists out on the internet
that you won't participate.
Exactly. That I won't read and share and talk about.
That's right.
But if you'd like to, you can send your ideas into us. One way you can do that is if you always go to the show notes. There's always a link in there with the form you can fill out to submit ideas to us. Yeah. You do that, you get a TEConnect podcast T-shirt, which I think those T-shirts are actually in
freshly
production.
minted. Yes,
I sent that info over to Angie to get some out to some folks that were owed. So the new T-shirts are ready to go.
Yep.
As soon as I get a hold of one, I'll be wearing it on the show.
Can I have one, please, sir?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. I'll wear it. That's what I'm saying. I'll promote the show.
And then, so send your ideas into us. We're happy to listen to those and either talk about them on TEC Bytes, find a guest to bring in and talk about something. If it's something channel and industry related, please send those ideas into us. Again, look for that link in the show notes where you can drop your ideas or reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or you can always email us anytime, TEConnect@bluestarinc.com. All right, Dean, let's wrap up here.
Yes.
Because we've already, talked about enough tech stuff and random stuff. Let's talk about something else random again. Let's talk about what's tech connecting with you. What's going on with you right now? What are you tech connecting?
Well, I kind of like this one. And so the headline is the U.S. to ban sales of antivirus software products from Russian-based Kaspersky Lab. Now, back in the day,
reasonable.
I used to have Kaspersky. Kaspersky had one of the best antivirus softwares, and in fact, it is the world's fourth largest, still to this day, antivirus software out there. So to me, this is one of those big news headlines that didn't get any headlines, if you ask me. So, so kudos. I think I don't disagree with this at all. I mean, this is a Moscow-based product, and the article didn't really have to go too deep to say, hey, by the way,
maybe this isn't a good idea.
The bad side here is that all the programming, is coming out of Moscow. And what do you think the likely? They could have some
we have a
Easter
rather
eggs.
antagonistic relationship with.
Yeah, right. I mean, do we really have to prove to you that this is not a good idea to have all this? Oh, and by the way, as antivirus software, I mean, come on. Yeah,
exactly.
We
all
got
the viruses are closed off except for the ones that we feel like letting in.
Bingo. I mean, this is like one of I don't know. I'm typically not. I'm for letting the market do what the market does. But in this case, no, I'm good with shutting down Kaspersky Lab, even though I was a customer back when I was in the PC
It's entirely
world.
possible that they are very much on the up and up. But
probably
unfortunately, in the current climate we're in, we can't take that risk probably.
Probably
I get it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah. And if it is that case, I'm sorry, but that's the world that we live in today.
Maybe 50 years down the road, if we have a different relationship with Russia, we'll
come back. Hey, we've got
a
great history of doing stuff like that. So come on back. So anyway, what's TEConnecting with you, my man?
All right, so I'm going to get into since we were talking about superheroics a little bit earlier. And also the comic book days. Remember in the comic books when you go to like the back page? This is a long time ago, back in the day, and you'd see all these like goofy little ads for like stuff you could mail off for, get a better body or whatever and stuff like that. Well, remember X-ray goggles?
Oh yes.
Well, we're a little bit closer to having like X-ray vision capabilities in the palm of our hand.
Really?
This is a tiny little chip that researchers have created that's designed to fit into a smartphone and brings us a little bit closer to, as they refer to it, Superman's X-ray vision capabilities without the X-rays.
Okay.
So this is one of those articles. Dive into it a little farther if you wanted all the technical spec stuff. I didn't get that in depth.
Right.
But essentially, a little microchip that they've created that has allowed them to use a visual and imager to to view objects through cardboard.
Oh,
so we're not talking like you're still not gonna be able to look through walls and see what someone's up to necessarily yet, which is probably for the best. But a little bit of work here, and right now apparently when they started it off, they only did it initially with a 1 centimeter imaging through cardboard, and they said they purposefully chose something that close range, because they wanted the people not to immediately go to the idea of like, well, what's going to happen when they decide to stare into your bag or into your house, into your car, or you in the bathroom or something like that. And like, look, that's not what this is intended for. It's never going to be that kind of technology.
So you're saying 1 inch? Wait, what did you just say?
Right now that they were only testing it at 1 centimeter.
1 centimeter.
So basically, they would put like objects on the other side of a very thin piece of cardboard, only a centimeter away, but it was able to identify what those objects were and get a good outline of them and get enough to actually quote, see them. Eventually, they plan to get up to 5 inches total, and they were talking about some of the the applications for this would be in healthcare, in packaging in general, being able to quickly scan packages and identify that either the right objects are in packages or also potentially if dangerous objects are, manufacturing, just, and basically just, ways that we might be able to do a quick analysis of something through solid objects without having to tear it open or
plus tons of nefarious
and again
things,
also not using actual x-rays, so there's no radiation involved necessarily either, so
which helps.
Yeah. So interesting little concept. We're a little bit closer to something super heroic, and you may be able to do it on your phone at some point.
I don't know that I like this. I don't, because that's just
you're
that's
right.
Just
It
right
could all
for some
go
nefarious stuff.
Exactly. It could all go wrong.
Yeah.
Like the second someone's tried to use it to check out a pretty girl or
that's
something.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if there's an opportunity to do something, do something bad and slimy with it, someone will figure out a way to do it.
Somebody somewhere will.
But for now, we're just looking through some cardboard.
I like it. Yeah.
So that is what's Tech Connecting with us. Those are all of our Tech Bytes for the day. Hopefully you got some interesting, compelling. You
got something to talk about.
Cool stuff out of it. Next week, we're back with an episode talking all about legal issues for VARs.
Yes.
And what kind of legality you can get into with Jill Miller from RSPA. So looking forward to that one.
Yep.
But hey, it is time for us to unplug. So until next time, go order some of those little microscopic shrimp out of the back of your conch. Did you ever get those? Those little brine shrimp things, the little sea people.
Yes.
I used to have a little thing of those.
I see.
That was fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was fun. Good
I don't
times.
think they offer those anymore, but it was fun. But I saw them at the aquarium the other day, so maybe you remember those. And hey, go start digging your bunker for the AI war that's going to start anytime
There
now.
you go. I'm man.
And hey, send me your list of the top something or other, and I'll be happy to talk to you about it. And as always, folks, please stay connected. TEConnect Podcast is brought to you by ELO and the 70 Series Full HD Professional Grade Touch Monitors. The 70 Series delivers professional grade, feature-rich platforms well suited for POS, interactive digital signage, self-service document signing, and more. All right, Dean, let's talk some features. Because ELO comes with the features. They come with the modularity.
Mm-hmm.
They're not satisfied with just like here's a display.
Mm-hmm.
No, they gotta try out some awesome features. So we got narrow border touchscreen.
All right.
Energy Star 8.0 certified. Scratch resistant surface.
Nice.
Durable IK07 design. Low blue light and flicker free. Touch on screen display. Display tilt from 20 to 70 degrees. Built-in speakers and a collapsible stand for Visa mounting.
Holy moly.
I mean, they could have done two of those things.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Still been
right?
pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
And look at all that stuff they're doing.
There you go.
So the 70 series is now available in 22, 24, and recently 27-inch sizes, black or white housing. They deliver quality and reliability you expect from ELO, backed with a standard 3-year warranty, extendable to 5 years with optional advanced knee replacement. So check out the link in the show notes to learn more about these amazing monitors.